What's going on, Reds fans? Welcome back to another exciting edition of Late Night Reds. As always, I'm Skylar Webker. He's Ben Brown. Ben, we actually have things to talk about. I was real worried that we'd come in here and say, I don't know what to talk about. But man, oh man, do we have some exciting things. Kind of as I was prepping for this podcast and put some notes together of some talking points. The Reds go out and sign Pierce Johnson out of free agency. This is a move that I don't know. Like, I had no idea who Pierce Johnson was, but as I started looking into the Baseball Savant page, into the Baseball Reference page, I actually really like this move, and I think it helps seal the deal on this Reds pitching staff from top to bottom.
Yeah, it honestly solidifies our our staff and our bullpen. If you look at the guy's numbers, I think he had a 304 ERA, pitched in I think 60 innings last year. Did really well for the Braves. The biggest thing that I see, and I have to give my buddy Jeff Carr a shout out here because he was the one that really mentioned this, and I thought about this too on the signing. Like, we worried about last year with Tony Santillan and how many innings he pitched and how many appearances he had to make, and he did a great job. I mean, there's no question. Like I said, Tony Santillan was arguably one of the best arms we had to come out of the bullpen last year, and we about ripped his right shoulder out of socket, throwing him out there so much. So I mean, it was crazy how much we relied on him, but what the signing does is give you a guy that if Santillan pitches a day, that you have another guy that can be a setup guy for Pagan. And he's also another guy that can get you out of a tough spot if you're in a spot in an inning where you need a guy that's got some experience of pitching out of stuff. He's got a good curveball. He's got a good off-speed stuff. He's got good fastball. So it's a great signing. It's one of the better signings that we've had in this offseason just because of his value to your bullpen, of being a setup guy and being a guy that you can rely on after we signed a lefty earlier in free agency. So it's a big signing for us, and I think that was the one arm I think that we were looking for to kind of seal the deal for the bullpen.
Yeah, you beat me too. I saw Jeff Carr's post about it also, and I completely agree with. Look, Tony Santillan had a fantastic year last year, but I think you couldn't call this year a success if you had to roll Tony Santillan out 82 times a year. Like he legitimately pitched every other day, and credit to him, he deserves every bit of dollars that he got in arbitration and everything like that. But I think if you want to set this team up to be better than last year's team, it comes with maybe not having Tony Santillan out there 82 games or Ellie De La Cruz play hurt or stuff like that. So I think this really improves upon that. And to the guy's credit, I mean, his Baseball Savant page won't jump out at you, but if you look at just the raw stats and numbers on Baseball Reference, this is a guy coming off of a 1.1 WAR, which is really hard to achieve as a reliever. 1.1 WAR, ERA plus of 137, so he's 37% better than an average major league pitcher on a Braves team that pitching fell completely apart last year. I mean, they got destroyed by injuries and everything like that. That's why they were kind of the anomaly of baseball last year. So I like the move. I like that it deepens the bullpen. It deepens kind of this pitching staff as a whole. And I feel really good, like 1 to 13 on this pitching staff. Like, there's not a weak arm in this rotation or in this staff at all. And I don't know if we've been able to say that years past. There's always been like, Ricky Karcher or Robert Stevenson. Like, it was always like a little shaky on some of the guys filling in the back end there, but they really did build a really good pitching staff and haven't spent a ton on it so far. It will cost them once these guys start getting higher in their arbitration and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
for now, like, I would say a top 10 pitching staff.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that um, these are the moves I think that you're going to start to see because I think these are the teams that we're trying to build, right? Strong defensively. We went out and got a left fielder, a guy that can run well. We got guys that can run, guys that can get on base. Now we just solidified our bullpen. Our starting pitching is already locked in. So um, some teams build with the long ball and home runs and things like that. I think we're trying to build a more pitching, defensive minded team that can get on base and make things happen with our legs and athleticism and not give up as many runs as you score. So we'll probably be in a lot of low run, low scoring games, but I think that's the way that they're trying to build this team as being. So, and they've done that. I mean, they've done a good job, like we've talked about with that part. Um, and I know we'll talk about this later, but still like to get another bat. But I think
Yeah.
they are definitely building towards being a defensive minded with strong pitching to go with that.
Yeah, I don't think this team is better talent wise than last year. I think talent wise, they're probably right about where they were last year. I do think
Mhm.
this team is better balanced than last year. We got Ferguson, who's a great lefty out of the bullpen, which we desperately needed somebody other than Sam Moll to be. You're going to have a full season of Chase Burns. You're going to have a full season of Red Lauder. You're going to have Pierce Johnson now, who can help back the back end of that bullpen. Like you alluded to, a little more defensive. And, I'm not worried defensively at all around the diamond, which feels
Mhm.
really good. But they are still missing that one bat. And they've made a little minor league signings, and we'll talk about what some of those mean for this team. But they just need to go get someone, whether we talked about it last week, like a positionless bat, somebody that
Mhm.
can hit more than 20 home runs, somebody that is the threat. Like, I can't lose Ellie because the next guy up will really make that hurt. So, like, some protection around
Mhm.
a lot of these guys. And there, I think this move will probably come via trade. I do think it probably is a Gavin Lux or maybe a Brady Singer to get it done. But I think another move has to be coming. And some other news around kind of the division with the Cubs signing Alex Bregman.
Mhm.
It's a good move for them. I like that they did it, but they also lost Kyle Tucker. So they're basically the same team as they were last year. The Brewers are
Yeah.
basically the same team as they were last year. We're basically the same team that we were last year. So I think they need to do something to not be the same team they were last year and get ahead of those teams.
Yeah. And I think the signing by the Cubs today, I mean that's like you said, it's replacing one for the other, but it's still providing them with a bopper in the middle of their lineup
Mm-hmm.
that can drive in runs and do some of the things that they were getting from Tucker. So um, they went out and replaced that. But I feel like we are in the same spot. We just need that one move and that one piece to put us over the hump of where we want to be and where we want to kind of sit at as far as trying to win this division. Um, because, like I said, I have to give them credit. We've made everything that we've talked about in the offseason, all the stuff that they wanted to do to get better, they've done. I mean, they really have. I mean, we wanted to get more arms in the bullpen. We got more arms in the bullpen. We wanted to get a solidified left fielder. Technically, we went and got a solidified left fielder. Not the fielder that we wanted, not it wasn't Kyle Schwarber, which we understand. Like I know, but defensively, he's a better left fielder than what we've had previously. So
Yeah.
we make that move and get Blade. And we've got a few. I know we'll talk about it, but we got a few minor league signings with some guys that have shown some positive output to an extent. It ain't what we're looking for, but they're, I don't know if the goal is to try to have pieces to be able to make a big move like we talked about, um, or they're really trying to get these guys and build on the cheap and hope that they come to fruition. I'm hoping that they're trying to gather pieces so that we can make a big move in order to solidify our batting by bringing somebody in there who can hit home runs at a consistent basis. But I'm afraid that it's the latter, um, because that's kind of been what the MO has been, right? Like we know these guys have potential. Let's sign on potential and hope that potential comes to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, the front offices, they don't have a lot of grace in this area because of the
Hmm.
track record and history that they have shown time and time again that they're going to be the latter of that. I do think
Hmm.
this a lot of the moves. So they've made a flurry of minor league signings. The two standouts were Garrett Hampson's back and on a minor league deal, which I don't know if any Reds fans wanted him around the first time around, but here
Right.
we go again. But this time it's a minor league deal, which is a little helpful. And Michael Toglia, I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Hmm.
Uh, Great numbers in AAA. Didn't quite get it done in Colorado, but signing him to a minor league deal, I don't think there's ever such a bad thing as a bad minor league deal, as long as there's a more than 50% chance that that person's going to be in the minor leagues and not minor league
Yeah.
onto the major league roster. But these moves in particular are interesting to me because they kind of tell me they have absolutely no faith in CES.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the biggest piece of that I saw. Like, and I don't know what you do with CES, um, because yeah, I don't see them having a whole lot of faith in him. Which and I don't know where that disconnect came and where, um, because I mean, a year ago we were literally talking about him being the middle of our order, being the guy that's going to be able to slug home runs and be the guy that's going to be able to drive in runs, and being the guy that could do all the things that we were needing in this lineup. And now he's an afterthought. Like when we talk about the Reds in offseason, like we don't ever bring up CES. And this guy was consistently the talk that we had talked about all last season. And now, like, he doesn't even get brought up in conversations. Um, he's not mentioned in any trade rumors. He's not mentioned as being part of the big league club. He's not mentioned as being a guy that they can think that can have a resurrection from last year to this year. Like he's not in any conversations. Then on top of that, you sign another first baseman and another guy to a minor league contract over top of him. So
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing or lack of doing or not doing, where they're completely turned off from him. I don't know what it is. And I know like he just was not very good last year, but to go from where he was literally a year ago where we were talking about him possibly being the four hitter in this lineup to being a complete afterthought. I don't know how that has switched so quickly.
John Juan will never give up on CES, and you can go ahead and not give up, but I'm telling you, the Reds have the fact that they're signing guys over him on minor league deals. There's no talks, like you said, about his future with this league or this team. There's nothing. He literally just vanished into the minor league system. Um, it's peculiar that that is happening. I mean, when he first got here, when we first made the trade, which was Tyler Malley for Spencer Steer and CES, I mean, it was looking like a fleece job. It was looking like Nick Kroll's finest work. And now, I really Spencer Steer's the only one that's panned out. CES is just like a phantom of the Reds minor league, like Phantom of the Opera, like he's just gone.
Yeah. That's I said, I'm like, that's the weirdest part about all that. Like, there's not even a mention of him. Like I don't get it. Where a guy was so promising, to now, like, he's an afterthought. Like, you're like I said, they don't mention him and like possibly being a guy that can be a DH. They don't mention him as a guy being a backup to Steer. They don't mention him as a guy that could be possibly like they just don't mention him. Like unless somebody says something, like unless we mention CES, like nobody hears of CES at all. Like I don't even know if the guy, like, is he practicing baseball? Is he still, like, I don't know. Like nobody's heard from him. And it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of crazy because literally a year ago we were talking about this guy being a stud and being able to, once he got healthy, be able to help this Reds club, and now he's just kind of an afterthought.
I mean, Josh puts up a good point here. He thinks that Tito's out on him because he swings out of the strike zone too much. And honestly, it's also a Will Benson habit too. And we see
Mhm.
Tito's relationship with Will Benson. I do wonder if it's a regime or reform in approach. And if so, I will applaud it because it does make your team better or make your team know how to be better. Um, yeah, that's why Cleveland is the pitching factory, because they have that thing locked in and exactly
Mhm.
here's the roadmap on how you get to the major leagues. You got to be able to hit these things. And I think, hey, if Tito's going to bring some of that as far as hitting or anything like that, fine with me. But yeah, to not even have him as trade bait, not even nothing. Like he's just nothing. It's super strange. Um, super strange. I'm not really sure what we'll see. I mean, maybe he comes out on spring training as like gangbusters and just proves us all wrong. But right now, it looks like he's going to be the next, 4A player, Jose
He's he's
Barrio.
he's gonna he's gonna be fighting for minutes for with Michael Tackley is what he's going to be too.
But I will say, like,
uh,
with these depth moves, that was something that was a concern last year. Is it didn't feel like there was any depth to this team
mhm.
with anybody even close to the minors. Like it felt like if there was an injury, we were just gonna struggle through it. Um, and it
Mhm.
does feel like this team has a little bit more depth around it now. Could be that the minor leaguers are progressing and getting closer, but even with these lower depth moves in Toglia and Hampson and a couple of the others, like it does feel like this team has a little more leadway than it did. When it comes to injuries or anything like that, and injuries will be a part of this season. But
Mhm.
top of the position definement that they have, the like assigned roles, the a stellar pitching staff with depth, like, oh my god, this team feels so close to just being complete.
Yeah, I think we mentioned this a lot though about how good teams stay good even through injuries, right? Like
Mhm.
when a good team gets an injury, it's not about the injury. It's about the next guy that's able to step into that position and be able to play until said injured player is ready to come back. And I think that was where the Reds struggled. One and two, I think that's where you ride a guy like Ellie De La Cruz for 162 games, even though he's hurt for probably 45 of those. Because
Mhm.
like once he leaves your lineup, even a hurt Ellie is better than what you had backing him up or the depth that you had behind him. So, and I think that was the reason why they've made these moves, and we've talked about that, like the depth piece to be able to have a guy maybe have to go on the IL, and being able to bring a guy up to be able to replace that guy at least for a week, 2 weeks, 15-day, whatever the case may be. Though that's the difference between good teams and not so good teams, because good, good teams are able to replace that depth, and bad teams they either make a guy play through it or they're hurt, or It's JJ Barea or it's whoever the case may be, where you're like, that guy, we know he's not at that level, but he struggles to be on the major league level. So um, the depth piece of it is really important, because when you have depth, that means that you, no matter what happens, you're able to fill a spot and continue to make a run or a push, and it's not just a complete fall off.
You mean not riding Santiago Espinal for 90 games?
Right. All right.
No, it's
Yeah.
that's. I feel like we do have quality depth. I mean, in the outfield, you have Dane Myers, Will Benson for now. We'll see where that shakes out. And you have Steer and Lux who can go out there and play. So I think you have enough rotational depth there. We already talked about how fantastic this Reds pitching staff is, and they have other guys in the minors that could come up and help. So you're pretty solid there. You're pretty okay, I would say, around the diamond. Anybody can really play first base. It's really third base and shortstop, I would say. You really
Mhm.
can't afford an injury at. I mean, I guess you could have Marte back at third if you needed to.
If you needed it, right.
So I like the depth in this team, and they just need to go get a bat. And something that I found interesting, I kind of want to get your perspective on all of the players that have left the Reds or they're in free agency right now. None of them have signed. Every single one of
Yeah.
them have the opportunity to come back or something like that, but none of the Reds free agents have signed. Does that say something about either the market, or does that say something like, I'll just use Andujar for an example. Does that say something about the Reds and the ballpark organization that nobody wants to jump in on something? Because a lot of these guys
Mhm.
had great years. Nick Martinez had great years. Austin Hayes had a good year. Miguel Andujar had a great year, and yet none of them have signed.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of both. I think part of it's the market. Um, Part of it's the market, and I think part of it is the organization. Um, you know, I, there's something about the Reds organization where they are not wanting to feel like they don't want to feel like they're being pushed over a barrel, if that makes sense. Like
Mhm.
there's guys out there that like they're making their moves, they're doing their things, but I guess they don't want to feel like they have to make a move and bring a guy back that maybe they don't want to bring back, or they want to bring them back on their terms, if that makes
Mm.
sense. Like they want to bring them back on their terms. Now, the one that we've talked about nonstop in this offseason is Miguel Andujar, right? Like the guy can hit bombs. He can do exactly what you need him to do. Um, but I don't know if it's a cost thing. I don't know if it's like Austin Hayes. He had a great year, but I'd be okay with him. Nick Martinez, I would love to see back, but you've also filled those spots. Like you've done a pretty good job of filling, a guy, filling your bullpen and filling your starters. So as much as it pains me to not have Nick Martinez because I really do like him, I understand what they did with filling guys with their bullpen and having set starters and things like that. So I understand it. But there's no reason why we shouldn't have Miguel Andujar back. Um, he would fill a need. He can only be a bat. He could DH. He can go up there and just hit bombs, and you would get him at a pretty reasonable price, I would assume, than other big name free agents, right? Like we already talked about the other big free agents, which Bergman's already signed, but you're not signing a Kyle Tucker, you're not signing other big names, but a Miguel Andujar would fit what you need, which is just a bat who can hit the ball out of Great American Ballpark and other ballparks, and is a possible 30 to 35 home run dude. So I don't know if they're waiting to see what the final market or numbers will be on Andujar, but I would assume that he's a guy that should still be on their radar.
And John puts in a great question here about it's probably the CBA killing. Like everybody knows they're basically not going to get to work next year, so it could have something
Yeah.
with that. guys are requiring more than a 1-year deal or guarantee because they don't want to be held out there in limbo. And
Yeah.
that is kind of the Reds' MO. We'll give you a try it out deal with some options, and then we'll figure it out based on how you do. They do think, especially for Andujar, who's up there a little bit in age, but not too old. I think he's like
Mhm.
31 or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, Wanting at least a 2-year deal so that he knows that he has a job when they get back to work after the CBA and everything like that. So that's the only like hiccup I could see. Um,
Yeah.
but that's it, man. That's the only hiccup I could see, that you're not going to bring this guy back who was great in your clubhouse. Everybody talked about how much they liked him. A bit more of a veteran guy. He's been in the league a little bit longer. Was on those Oakland teams that were going to the playoffs and fills the need of this team.
Mhm. And he produced when he had the opportunity before he got hurt. Like, he was doing
Mhm.
everything that you needed him to do as far as being able to provide protection for Ellie or anybody else that was in the lineup. He was the threat of hitting a home run, which you always have to have. And he was doing those things. Like you said, he was a great clubhouse guy. He's a veteran guy. It's another veteran voice and presence in your locker room. So it has to be. It has. I would assume that that would have a big part to do with it, depending on the years and how many years he wants. Because I mean, I couldn't disagree with him. Nobody wants to do a 1 year. You know what I mean? Especially with the CBA and everything else going on. And that, like you said, that's the Reds MO. Like, oh, we'll give you a 1 year. Like no, like I'm not doing a 1 year knowing what the end game is going to be. Like, I'm not doing that. So who knows?
Yeah, and I said it earlier this episode, but I'll reiterate again. I think the Reds' next move comes via trade because I'm sure this Pierce Johnson deal wasn't a league minimum or vet minimum. I'm sure it was more because he's coming off of a career year with a 1.1 WAR and 137 OPS plus or ERA plus, I guess, since it's pitcher. So I think it's going to be more than the vet minimum, and might be all the Reds have, and free agent spending. They have to go trade, and that would probably be a
Yeah.
Gavin Lux because you don't have a use for a Gavin Lux on this team right now. Um, Brady Singer, we've already talked about how much value he has, but I think it probably comes from your minor league depth, which we know that they love to hug prospects, but at this point, every single prospect is up for grabs, unless their name's
Mhm.
Chase Burns, because I think he's technically still a prospect. But
Yeah.
have at it. Take your pick. And I think that's the way that the Reds are going to have to go and get better. The only name that I have on my board is Joe Adell. And just because he destroys lefties, it's probably not the most complete hitter. And I also don't know what the Angels are doing. So we'll see what they do on the market. But I think this might be the end of their spending. And they're going to have to get creative to get this last
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that they made some of these, like I said, made some of these minor league signings earlier, um, so that they can be more flexible with other prospects and trades and do some of that stuff that way. Um, you know, I think wasn't Singer, he was in arbitration. They avoided arbitration with Singer and Lux, and so which tells me that you have that flexibility to be able to move a guy like that because you can either use him as trade bait, and you have a salary there that you can use as a bargaining chip. So between him and Lux, I think that they're possibly setting up a move. I hope that they're setting up a move to be able to bring somebody in, um, because you now you have that flexibility of having those guys there, and you brought those guys in on the minor league deal where you can say, okay, we may not be able to trade these guys, but we'll be able to trade the prospects where they'll fit that position for the prospect, and be able to move some prospects around to be able to add to some trade pieces. So I'm hoping that that's the way they're thinking, to give themselves some flexibility. Because you bring up a really good point. I think they're done in the free agent market. Like I don't think there's. Honestly, I don't think there's anybody out there that they're going to look at and say, "Yeah, I just got to have that guy." And they don't have the cash. They don't have the cash to do it.
The latter part, I think the cash, they don't have the cash to do it. I think they would love to bring an Eugenio Suarez back.
Oh
I
yeah,
just
yeah,
don't think
yeah.
they have. I don't think they have the money to
Yeah,
do
they
it
don't have
because
they don't
they're
have
poor.
Geno money right now. They don't have
You
that
did
Geno phone
mention
right now.
you did mention one thing about arbitration. So the Reds settled on all of their arbitrations besides two players, Tyler Stevenson and Graham Ashcraft. They're going to go to arbitration with those guys. I saw the numbers. I don't have them in front of me. I think Feinsand or somebody had them out there of what everybody filed for and what the teams filed for. Between these two players, it'll be about $1 million. So if the Reds get their way, they will be $1 million under what their projected payroll would be. If Tyler Stevenson and Graham Ashcraft get their bid, they will be $1 million over what their final projection would be. And okay, I mean, I don't know what you're going to get for $1 million swing, but
Yeah,
fine. You're a professional baseball team. You should be able to. You shouldn't be sweating $1 million.
they're not. They're not sweating it. It's a it's a prove you're right or prove you're wrong, right? Like for
Mm-hmm.
them, $1 million to any major organization is not much. Um, it's a prove it thing. So it's like if we win, then yeah, I told you we'd be $1 million under budget and we're gonna be the Reds and blah blah blah. If you lose it, you're like, oh well, like we only projected 1 million over. I mean, so I don't think it's anything. I don't think it's anything big. Um, I'm kind of surprised they didn't try to avoid arbitration with Ty Steve, but other than that, though, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, Ty Steve and Graham Ashcraft, because Graham had a good year coming out of the Reds
Yeah.
bullpen, and seems like he really found a role there.
Mhm.
I'm surprised that I forget who specifically, but they like paid over. It was for Gavin Lux. They paid like half
It
a
was
million dollars
flux.
over whatever his projected value was. And it's like, that for that guy? Why? Why?
Right. What are we doing?
John puts back in here. How would we feel about Andrew McCutchen? I think he would be a fine move. I don't think he fills what this team needs. And that would be the big bopper bat. I think he would fill in the on base guy, the clubhouse guy. But I just don't think Andrew McCutchen has the bat that he once had.
Yeah, I agree. Um, as much as I like McCutcheon, I do like as a player. I really like him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that his bat now doesn't feel what we need currently. Because we just need a guy that can hit home runs and drive runs, and I just don't think that he's there. He could give you a good 16 to 18 home runs, but we're looking for a 30 to 35 home run dude, and I don't think
Need a
he's
30
there.
to 35 guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Some other news has come out kind of around the Reds and specifically payroll and stuff like that. But it sounds like the Reds are going to opt out of their TV deal with FanDuel Sports Network, who are desperately trying to sell off their regional sports network rights for every team. So it sounds like the Reds are kind of jumping out of the burning car early. And it seems like that this year the team, MLB, will be broadcasting for the Reds. And I don't know if for anybody that follows Trevor May online, former pitcher, he has a really great point about this, how that's exactly what Major League Baseball wants, because they want to be able to distribute whatever they want to other networks, similar to how the NBA does it, similar to how the NFL does it, so that they can, distribute certain games or certain whatever to CBS, NBC, ABC, whoever wants to broadcast the game. So I don't know if this is good or bad. I'm sure the front office is going to tell us it's bad and it's the reason they can't afford anything, but I don't know.
Mhm.
It's something.
Yeah, and thinking of it, I guess money wise and perspective, like I would have, and this is just assumption because I have no idea how TV network deals and all that stuff works, but I would assume that the FanDuel network or whatever they're called these days, um, the licensure for them and the money that is spent for the Reds to be able to be exclusive with them, I would assume it would be exceedingly less than what it be would be with any other, I guess, like going to like to go major. Now, I guess that they would get more market shares maybe if they went with a if MLB picks them all up. I would assume that then there would be more market shares, which I
Mhm.
guess technically would give you more money, right? Like because now you could be distributed to ESPN, you could be distributed to Netflix, you could be distributed to
Right.
ABC, NBC. So I would assume that would benefit you financially, that you're not locked into one network. Um, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
I don't
would
know
think
how that
so.
works. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know anything about TV rights and exclusivity and all that stuff, but I would assume that the more networks that you're able to be distributed to, the better.
Yeah, I also think with the kind of death of cable, it's like it was so hard to find somebody that offered the FanDuel network whenever I moved here because I haven't had cable in forever. Um,
Yeah.
so and I'm on what is it, Fubo now or something like that. And
Yeah.
I think getting out of cable and like you said, being able to put games on Netflix or see it NBC, Peacock, whatever, and Paramount
Mhm.
or Disney Plus for ESPN. Like I do think this probably benefits the team financially in the long term. I just know that the front office is going to use it as a crutch to tell us why they
Mhm.
can't afford to do nothing.
Yeah. Now see, we lost our TV deal, so that's more money that we're losing. You're like, that's not exactly how that works. But
It's not
if
how that
you want
works at
to
all, man.
yeah, if you want to say that you can, but no, I would think that the distribution of that would improve. Um, also the thing that I like about it too, and not that I have anything wrong with FanDuel. I don't, I fortunately enough had a cable thing where I could get FanDuel Sports or whatever the case
Mhm.
may be. So I had it and could watch all the Reds games. But um the other thing about getting away from that is that it should widen your market. So like the more spaces you're able to be shown on, it should give you more viewership. So
Mhm.
more people who like say you live in St. Louis, like and you're a Reds fan, you should be able to get on, NBC or Peacock, whatever, and be able to watch the Reds on this network. And it should help with your distribution and stuff like that. So I would think that that would generate more money. You'd be able to garner more fans, more eyes on your product if it's a good product, hopefully. Um, and then that would help with more of your revenue if people are buying more jerseys or more shirts or more hats because now they became LA De La Cruz fans because they're watching now in Boca Raton when you couldn't get it before.
Well, yeah, and Josh puts in here effectively probably helps eliminate blackouts, which is
Hmm.
always
Absolutely.
been the heel of watching MLB games is like, what do you mean I can't watch it? I'm blacked out because why? What do you
Right.
mean? Um, so if it eliminates blackouts, it widens your market shares and market so that you could distribute to. Like this feels like it should be a good thing. I just know that
Yeah.
the front office
It
is going to tell us that it's not.
Well, they're gonna play the FanDuel as a hometown favorite card, right? Like that's what
Hmm.
they'll do. Like, well, FanDuel's they're a hometown favorite, and they are gonna hire local people to do our broadcast, and we get to see the cowboy and all these guys do like those same people will get hired by whoever else is doing the broadcasting. Don't fret. We'll
Yep.
still get all our people. You'll still get the, aftermarket game thing where they meet down after the game and Jim Day does his whatever. Like you'll still get all that stuff. Don't let the management fool you. Like they're not going to take all those people away.
Well, in the spirit of national games, it's come out that the Reds will have 5 games that are broadcasted on NBC Sundays. And the name that keeps getting put out there is Joey Votto. He keeps getting mentioned as a potential
Mm.
broadcaster option for NBC. And tell you what, if you have Joey Votto broadcasting Reds games, that's going to be so, so, so fun.
Yeah, it will be. You know, he's such an enjoyable character. Um, and you didn't realize, honestly, I didn't realize how much I missed Joey Votto until he started putting those things out with the Athletic about 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
about his favorite clubhouse memories or stuff like that, and him and Freddie Benavidez, and him being the a hole and all that. Like he was putting that stuff out, and you're like, dude, like I miss Joey. Like I miss him telling stories. I miss like just his just raw. He's just a raw, real person where there's no frills. There's no like he just tells it how it is. And but for him to be able to come in and to broadcast games, especially Reds games, man, like that would be really cool. And just him broadcasting any game will be cool because he's such a student of baseball. Like he knows the game, he's played the game, he enjoys the game, and he's a historian of the game. So like he can give you 4 different kinds of aspects of the view of the game that a lot of people can't give you. So that's for him to be able to do that, not only just for Reds games, but just baseball in general. He's a dude that needs to be around the game.
I know. We've had too long of a break without Joey Votto. Like Joey Votto needs to be back in at baseball somehow, whether it's broadcasting, whether
Mhm.
he's a manager for a team or something. Like Joey Votto needs to be back in baseball.
Yeah. No, yeah, without question. He's I think it really helped when and I know he's not a big social media guy still, but like when he started doing that kind of stuff and really kind of showing his personality, you could really tell like he is meant to be around the game because he has a personality that not a whole lot of people have. Um, which is, he can be funny at times. He knows the game. He can talk the game, but he also understands the humanality of it, right? Like he's a very just interjectual person who is able to understand and explain different things. So you could really see that in his social media and the stuff that he was posting when he was really firing away social media stuff. Just how funny he was and thoughtful he was, and he's a guy that baseball needs around, and he's got a lot of knowledge, and got like like sitting around and listening to Joey Votto talk baseball would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I would, if Joey Votto started a podcast, like I would be listening
Yeah,
to that. Like I would never miss an episode.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and because like I said, like he's just a different human being, and for him to be able to sit and talk and just talk baseball, talk sports in general, because I know he's got other interests as far as like he's a Lakers fan and some other stuff. So just to hear him talk sports in general, but particularly baseball because he was such a student of the game. He was so good at hitting a baseball. Like it would just be cool to pick his brain about what his mindset is, what he thinks about the current game, what he thinks, just different stuff. Like you said, if he had a podcast, that would be incredible.
No doubt. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up out of here. We'll be back if the Reds make any significant moves. We'll do an emergency podcast, but You can catch us every week, 9 p.m. Eastern on Sundays, live here on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. We're on the platforms and just publicizing the show a little bit here. Also, use our code Riverfront to get $20 off your first purchase through SeatGeek. That can be Reds games, Bengals games, Disney on Ice. It doesn't matter what it's to. Just use our code Riverfront to get $20 off your first purchase through SeatGeek. We encourage everybody to join our ever-growing family of Cincinnati sports fans and support the show through Patreon. It's patreon.com/RiverfrontCincy. There you get any pricing gets you access to our Slack channel where Ben, myself, Seth, we're all on there interacting with fans and super, super fun. Also subscribe to us over on YouTube to get not only the latest from our show, but the Riverfront Reds show and Welcome to the Jungle as episodes are released. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Riverfront Cincy, and please subscribe to the audio version of this podcast for free. We're on all of the platforms. Give us the ratings and reviews. It really does help the show. And be a friend, tell a friend, or just Cincinnati sports fans trying to put on a good show for other Cincinnati sports fans. So for me, Skylar Wepker, for Ben Brown, we'll get out of here. And as always, go Reds.
Go Reds.